Hi everyone, today I'd like to speak about Intel, a multinational corporation that has had its European manufacturing headquarters in Ireland for over 35 years now. Currently, the plant in Leixlip in County Kildare accommodates nearly 5,000 staff, and there's also a manufacturing facility in Clare as well, which accommodates and employs 300 members of staff. Now, there are reports in Bloomberg today that Intel plan on cutting its global workforce by 20%. Now, currently there's 108,000 people employed with Intel internationally, and a 20% cut will obviously have implications for Ireland in terms of our domestic workforce. So we wait and see how that transpires over the next 24 to 48 hours. But this comes on the back of job losses that occurred in 2023. During that period, we've seen real downturns, sharp downturns in the company for a number of years in terms of the share price fallen massively. And there was up to 15% job cuts during that period of time as well. And a lot of workers in Ireland were put on unpaid leave for up to 3 months as well in terms of the cost cutting measures because of the increased international competition with the semiconductors, for instance, around Taiwan, areas such as the companies like Samsung in South Korea as well, and other competitors such as Nvidia, who have marched ahead in the AI chip processing. But it has massive ramifications for Ireland because a number of years ago there was a decision made by Intel to build a new Fab 34 plant, which at the cost of about 17 to 18 billion euro. And this was funded in a massive part by Apollo Wealth Management. Of course, those Vulture funds that helped benefit from the collapse of the Irish economy that came in and hoovered up a lot of the stressed assets that ordinary people were forced to bail out through austerity. And they farmed off as well at big profits over the last number of years, all facilitated by government policies. And of course, Michael Noonan at that time was Minister for Finance, who met with the Vultures over 95 times as Minister for Finance. Now the same, we have Peter Burke, the Minister for Enterprise, who has been working around the country uh, and doing, big announcements about job creations in such as the big care industry, which is a big profiteering scam for the big corporations at the expense of workers' pay and conditions. And what's also very fundamentally important with this is that they benefit from a massive amount of public subsidies in terms of this new plant. Up to nearly 400 million euro was handed over from the Irish government in the initial stages of this plant as well. It was actually remarked by Intel back in 2023 that it's 60% of the total grants and incentives and tax credits and incentives were given to these big corporations was from the Irish government. And that includes Intel's locations in many countries around the world. And of course, on top of this massive investment, we have Peter Burke working with the IDA today about trying to keep jobs in Intel and keep the business going, even though the company essentially is on a massive form of life support. The new CEO plans on cutting what he claims is middle management bureaucracy and go back and focus on engineering. Now, obviously, we'll see what the ramifications are for Ireland with the announcements over the next 24 hours as well. And as I've said, I'm sure the Irish political response will be to give more incentives, more tax breaks, more public money to keep this company that's on life support, to keep it going, which is absolutely just ludicrous. And when you consider, in the first instance, the massive failure of the national corporations in terms of foreign direct investment policies throughout Ireland as well. The whole idea when Sean Lamass and TK Whitaker came up with a plan in terms of opening up foreign direct investment, in terms of encouraging capital flows into Ireland, was to build up a strong domestic Indigenous economy. And now more than ever, in the current context of what's happening internationally with the tariffs by Trump, many companies relocating, for instance, looking at manufacturing relocating, such as big pharma and big tech, back to the United States as well. Now more than ever is the time to focus on a strong Indigenous domestic industry. And it also is very important in terms of a lot of these companies such as Intel, 9 billion euros worth of exports last year were given over as well. But again, who really benefits from this? It's the big corporations, the CEOs. it's the shareholders, it's the big investors and companies like Apollo Wealth Management who will always look at their return on investment on a weekly and quarterly basis to make sure they're maximizing their profits from investing in this. And of course, it's being propped up by public money because what's fundamentally important with this, back in 2023, over €100 million of public money was given by the Irish government to help with the power increases, energy increases for Intel, which is just ludicrous. We know about the vital impact of employment and the knock-on impacts it would have on a wider society in terms of this, but it shows you the fallacy of this policy that's been driven by successive governments. And again, Peter Burke today is talking to the IDA about offering more incentives and more pay, and that comes from the opposition as well to say the support should be in place for many of these highly paid workers as well. And it's interesting to note that Intel have themselves said that 66 nationalities are employed in Intel. So we have a lot of foreign international workers that come into work in Ireland because capital is ultimately very mobile, but they're looking for labour to be mobile. This ties into the immigration chaos in Ireland as well. And in the context of this, it's interesting to note that a lot will come outside from outside the EU. And we've seen the big growth, for instance, with the Indian population over the past number of years, and visas being offered to many members of various communities that are outside the European Union, and also many people who are now buying up property as well, which offers more pressures on the accommodation system as well and pushes up prices and benefits those who are rich at the expense of ordinary people who will suffer because of these policies. So again, it reads a radical reshift and rethink in our society about what's going on, rather than being at the whim of the international foreign investors and the markets who are only here to exercise as much profits as possible because of tax haven Ireland, all created by government policies, who can't see beyond the end of their nose in terms of a proper, strong, domestic, Indigenous supporting small businesses, medium businesses as well, and supporting people to invest in our local communities and have communities, towns, villages, and cities that we're proud of throughout the country, rural and urban as well, where people are employed, people can live, and people can afford to have a decent, dignified existence in the Republic as well. But this is what's coming in the tracks over the next period of time, so we'll keep you posted and see how this develops and transpires again. But it's going to be more handouts undoubtedly by the Irish state of public money, which could be directed into more viable enterprises such as homes for people that are badly in need of homes, rather than giving more money to big international investors at our expenses. As I mentioned, companies like Apollo Global Wealth, who are massive investors in this new facility that's taken place at Intel in Leixlip in County Kildare. So again, thanks so much for the support of my videos, really appreciate them, and please press subscribe to my channel. So from Dublin, Slán, and thanks to everybody who supports me through Buy Me Coffee as well. I'm very grateful. Thanks so much and take care. See you all soon. Bye bye.